right, good morning, everybody. Looks like we have most people joined that are coming. I'm sure a few others will trickle in. Before we get started, just a few Zoom rules. We love it when you guys turn on your cameras. So if you have a camera, please turn it on. That makes the meeting more engaging. Helps us to see your face and see the reactions. Try to make sure throughout the meeting that you are muted, so that we don't get a lot of feedback in the meeting. This meeting will be a little different. We are switching to a little more informal type setting. No PowerPoint presentation today, so lucky you all. So, obviously there will be more opportunity for questions and discussion. So please try to raise your hand when you want to speak. It helps us to kind of acknowledge you, and instead of it just being a free-for-all. Or you're more than welcome to enter your questions into the chat, and we will answer that the best we can. It's usually a free-for-all in there as well, but sometimes we answer them in the chat. Sometimes we bring them up live here on the meeting. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Les Fletcher. I work in the E-Construction Group, and I'm pretty much just hosting this meeting today. But we really appreciate you all being here. I know you guys are looking forward to another riveting episode of the Construction Roundup meetings. I know that you've missed it since September, and like I said, a lot more informal. Feel free to ask questions. Bring up some discussion stuff after Brian and Matt kind of go through the things they need to discuss. I mean, do not be afraid to voice your opinions and questions here. We're all friends. I mean, most of us are friends here, so we'll take those questions from you and try to answer them. So that's all I have. One last thing, we do record this and put it on our YouTube, our construction YouTube page for you to go back and view later if something you need to review something or just see how the meeting went. For those that are in your group that were not able to make it, so I'll drop those links in the chats. And so for that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pass over to Brian, and he'll get us kicked off. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Les. Good morning, everybody. So this is our final construction webinar for the year 2024, and we've had a busy year. We have kicked off this year with a spring roundup. We've had a fall roundup, conferences all across the year, a lot of back and forth, our webinars, our e-construction webinars. We've had a lot going on. So this is kind of just end of the year. We're touching base with everyone. We're going to kind of go through a little year in review, some of the things that we've done this year and talked about. I'll give a quick summary, a few hot topics that are going on right now. I'll discuss those, and then I'll pass it off to a few folks, and then we're just going to kind of open it up for questions. So we just thank everybody for being on the call. Thank you for taking your time to be with us today. So biggest thing is our e-construction webinars and our construction roundup webinars, and it seems like we've had these have been very successful, getting a lot of engagement and people on the calls, and we really appreciate that. And for this to work, everyone has to get on and raise their hand and ask questions and engage. So we appreciate that. We've implemented a lot of specifications this year, a lot of changes. So we've got our district personnel on and our contractors and consultants. We've changed our 10518, 10904 specifications, force account, bringing some of our EDSMs into those, changing how we bid contract and change order work. TRO, we have a new CPM. Our TRO is our time-related overhead that we've got pilot projects coming out. You'll see those coming up in January. Our new CPM specification is out. For those of you that have been picked to pilot that specification, we will be getting our CPM consultant on board, and we will be utilizing our new Oracle CPM schedule intake form. So that's going to be something new. There's going to be a lot of questions, a lot, probably if there's any concern, we're definitely going to get together, definitely discuss it at the pre-construction and kind of work our way through it. So, I hope there's not any apprehension as far as that goes. We have a new e-ticketing spec that's going to be formally introduced. That's mandatory on all projects starting in January, I'm told. And our change order wet signature. So we no longer have to send around change orders across the state. So we've done a lot of things to consolidate, make things consistent across the state. And, we appreciate all the feedback and help with all of those specifications. We've also had a work zone police change for interstates as well. So not going to talk in depth about those specifications, but later on in the question and answer sessions, if you have specific questions or something that you're unsure about, please bring it up. So we also have our new request for change orders, our RFCO process. We went around recently and talked to everybody about that. And as you know, this was kind of engaged through our administration that we need to formally document our request for change orders. And Matt's going to talk a little bit about that later, just to make sure we have a little clarification on that issue. There's going to be some phones still ringing. So there's going to be a little clarification, and I think there was a little clarity needed on that issue. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Our e-construction group, we have Hall Hub e-ticketing and our work zone safety notification through Waze that's been implemented as well. So congrats to our e-construction group. Kicking off first of the year in 2025. So as we come back from the holidays, what are we going to be concentrating on? What are we going to be talking to you guys about? The biggest thing is that we are piloting our e-construction headlight contract administration modules right now at headquarters. And those will be coming out in pilots at the end of Q1, around March, this first of the year. So you'll start to see change orders and estimates coming out. We'll ask you, we'll pick some projects and we'll ask some people to participate in those. And I think you'll like the changes that have been made. And we're still working with Headlight and LeGov to refine those and make them work and make sure everything's perfect before we turn those on and go full bore. Later in the discussion, I will ask Patrick to kind of give a quick update on how we're going to implement that versus the cutoff date on site manager projects and when we're going to kick off Headlight and kind of how we're going to handle that transition. And I'll let him speak to that in just a minute. So we've had a few changes at our headquarters area engineer level. Ryan McMillan is no longer with Section 40 headquarters construction. Yesterday was his last day. We wish Ryan the best in his new job and his new endeavors. And so we've got an opening up here at headquarters. And actually, all of our headquarter area engineer positions are now open. So click that apply button. We've got currently covering 04, 05, 61, and 58, and we will post these after the webinar. 04, 05, 61, 58. That's going to be Matt Jones and our student worker, Caitlin, who is graduating next week and going to be coming to work in Section 40. So she's going to be helping out with those. Dustin Freeman in our fabrication unit is going to be acting area engineer for 03 and 07. And Sarah Ballmer, who was recently promoted to our headquarter area engineer and systems engineer position, is going to be handling and acting as our area engineer for 02, 08, and 62. So just again to recap, 04, 05, 61, 58, Matt Jones and Caitlin, 03, 07, Dustin, and Sarah Ballmer is going to be handling 02, 08, and 62. So I called around yesterday and this morning, and I kind of did a survey and just asking for some feedback on, what can Section 40 headquarters construction material, what can we do to improve? And one of the resounding things that I got back, some of the feedback was when the phone rings up here, we may or may not answer all the time in a prompt manner, or may not always be in our offices because we're in meetings or other things. And then getting back to individuals in a timely manner, that was kind of the consistent theme. So, and as you can see, like I just said, we're having a transition in our headquarter area engineering staff. So what I think we're going to do is I'm going to implement kind of a call center, and we're going to have Miss Simona. Les, can we pull up that information and share it with everybody? Can I share my screen, or you want to share your screen?
You want me to just get her
Yeah.
her phone number to her office and put it
Yeah.
in the chat? Okay.
Yes, put it in the chat information. So Simona is an admin that works here in Section 40, and what we ask is that in the event that you contact one of the headquarter area engineer positions for your requisite district, and or you run it up the chain to one of us, that if you do not get immediate results or you don't get feedback in a timely manner, we ask that you call Ms. Simona, and she's going to document, and we're going to log and ticket those and make sure that we respond to all calls coming into Section 40. We heard what you had to say, and we're doing something about it. So if you have any questions about that after we get through, please ask them. So one of the things that's probably on a lot of folks' minds, it looks like we have 87 participants, and that's including probably rooms full of people, so it's probably more than that as well. But I'm sure by this point, everyone's heard some sort of discussion on the district reorganization. What we'd like to share at this point is what we know right now. So the secretary has made the decision that the project engineer offices will report up to the Office of Engineering to the chief engineer. One of the ways that's talked about, or one of the things that we've talked about implementing, is a district construction engineer. So right now we have our area engineers, and we're talking about going back to like it used to be, where we had a district construction engineer and then a maintenance engineer. So all of the project engineering, contract administration responsibilities will roll up from the project engineers to this district construction engineer role, who will in turn roll up to Section 40 and then to the chief. So we are talking about a transition period, and then while we're in the transition period, working on our SF3s and our org charts and getting all that approved through civil service and our HR system. So first of the year, January, we were going to meet, our chief engineer is going to address our district administrators and all of our district staff on this issue. I know that you guys have had a few meetings already about this, but we'd like to meet from the perspective of the Office of Engineering and kind of give you, where we are and where we're headed. And from there, we'll have more definitive details on how we're going to move forward with that. We just wanted to put it out there and kind of acknowledge it, and that we will be working in step to get this implemented and moving forward as soon as possible. All right, moving on. Our next topic is the status of payments, late finals, and prompt payments. And I know that's near and dear to everyone's heart. We've been working hard this year to close out a lot of late finals and issues, and I know that's kind of what prompted all of these construction roundups and these meetings this year, was having prompt payments and finding ways to make sure that we don't have pitfalls and problems along the way, whether we turn things in on time and then becomes a funding issue or lack thereof. So we've been digging into that, and a few of us, myself, Chad Winchester, Mike Vosberg, went over to the Capitol, and we gave some testimony on a prompt payments task order, task force, whatever you want to call it. We went over there and talked to them, and that brought up some urgency on the issue, and it actually brought to the table OTS, budget planning, and financial services. And it looks like out of all of this, we're going to be able to, fingers crossed, we're going to be able to simplify how our funding categories come into our Astroware and then in turn into headlights. So we're hoping that we'll be able to minimize or eliminate the different funding breakdowns. And I know that's been a point of contention, especially it runs all the way down to the inspector in the field having to break out that 502 item into different control sections, different funding categories. We're hoping that this will alleviate that in the field, and then at the end, at estimate time, alleviate that confusion and funding problems as we go along. So that's a big step for us. It looks like we're going to have a lot of success with that. So I said a lot. I said it quickly. Guess I want to open it up at this point to my staff. First, to anything you have to add to what I said or anything you'd like to add. And then once our staff kind of goes through a few things, then we'll open up to questions. So Matt Jones, I'd like to turn it over to you now. Anything you'd like to add?
All right, I appreciate that. Kind of reiterate what Brian said. We are kind of short staffed right now, so yes, we are not always in our offices when y'all try to contact us, that sort of thing. We unfortunately have to meet on a lot of different things, dealing with other sections and that sort of thing. So we're just not here all the time. But if you'll leave a message, if you'll call Simona to let her know what you need, or email, I'll let you know. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Um, Kind of in touch with the RFCO process. I know that we went over that earlier. We were just getting everything together with the EDSMs and rolling that out. So just for clarification purposes, again, administrative change orders don't require an RFCO. So again, if it's already part of the contract, if it's a pay adjustment, if it's a insurance payment, if it's police, if it's any of those sort of things, an RFCO is not required for that. However, we are anticipating that an RFCO will be submitted for all other change orders. Now, kind of a caveat to that we didn't really go over is if you can create the change order and get it approved before the work starts, then you don't have to go through with all the approval process of the RFCO. That's just a way for contractors to submit the information, puts it there, readily available in an organized fashion, that sort of thing. But if it's one of those kind of like we talked about that, look, we've got 3, 4, 5 months before we actually start that work, even if it's a category 1, 2, or 3, if you can get the change order done prior to the work starting, then that's fine. You don't have to go through the approval chain to that because the change order will take care of that. However, it's one of those things that we're trying to get the work started before the change order is processed and approved. Then yes, it's supposed to be approved by that highest level authority, and so that's what we're looking for on that for the RFCO. So I hope that doesn't confuse the subject further. But if y'all have questions, again, we're willing to help y'all out with that. It's again a new process. We're trying to speed this along. We're also working to set up the DocuSign kind of a template so that once the contractor submits it, y'all can just put it into that DocuSign template form so that y'all know, all right, yep, this goes to these people, and it'll just roll through the process for approval. So still working on that. Hopefully we'll roll that out at the beginning of the year.
Thank you, Matt. Turn it over now to Patrick Icenogle and just say a little bit about e-construction and what we talked about.
Morning. Thanks, Brian. From what Brian was saying earlier, the e-construction spec was approved by the feds, and we're looking at it going out in the February lettings. So it's not going to be retroactive to existing projects. It'll be basically applied to new projects coming out in lettings. We did send out distribution to the industry reps, and anytime I speak with plant personnel, if they're not already signed up, I remind them. I've already had 2 requests this morning to onboard. So industry is taking it serious and getting their plants hooked up. So everyone should be geared and ready to go for that by February. So when these new lettings roll out and the contracts start rolling, everyone should already be set up and ready to roll. In addition to that, the safety information or application that we showed also through Hall Hub is piggybacked off of e-ticketing. So we're really encouraging inspectors to take advantage, set that up, throw that additional safety aspect. We talked about it going around the state. So definitely take advantage of that. On the headlight side, as Brian said, we are gearing up for some pilots. And I am very heavily pushing on headlight that we are not wanting to play in 2 systems for an extended period of time. So any active contracts I'm asking be forward synced to headlight such that anything you have actively going on, you'll be able to pick up directly in headlight where you left off in Site Manager. So all of your estimates, your change orders, any existing previous information will get forwarded over into the headlight platform. So that we don't have that 5 to 7 year transition period like we had for those of you that remember going from Matt to Site Manager. So in addition to that, we continue to build resources, continue to build the networking. So definitely take advantage of the e-construction resources. As we always say, second Tuesday every month, join us for the webinar, jump on the list for the newsletter. If you don't have access or not getting the notifications, ping myself or Les or our e-construction email, and we'll get you signed up. Any other specifics you want to touch on, Brian?
No, that's it. I just wanted to touch base on those few items. Thank you.
Hey, Brian.
Yep.
So we had a response in the chat. So it was talking about responses requested when they send emails to the estimate group or even partial pay estimates not being responded to. So we want to reiterate that's one of the reasons why we're bringing Simona into that process. So if you are not getting answers to your questions fast enough, or if something's not being responded to, your next step would be to go to Simona so that she can get that distributed out to others and we can make sure that it gets handled. So we just want to cover that and like be very clear. That's why we're bringing her in as a, quote unquote call center. I would say that you try that DOTD-40 estimates at LA Gov first, but if you're not getting a quick response, that's where you would contact Simona.
And Brian had asked about a possible ticketing center. So we have one piggybacked on LePave. We're probably going to look at cloning that and see if we can set up something for headquarter construction so that there's a ticketing system where any email, any phone call to any of these sections get linked into that. So it gets notified across headquarters construction, and the admin can also check on it.
Yep, that way everybody knows about it and it's right in our face and there's accountability and everybody's following up. So we don't have issues that fall through the cracks. Just another step, another thing we're implementing to make sure that we get back to everyone timely and we make sure we don't drop anything that, falls down in the email queue that doesn't get responded to in a timely manner. And look, at any time, if you're not getting called back or you're not getting issued quick enough, everyone should have my cell phone. Call me any time of day. I'll be glad to jump on it and get you a resolution. So, all right, next we're going to reach out and talk to Dallas Ballmer and our audits estimates. Any updates on that, Dallas?
All right, so I guess I'll start with work zone. We met with FHWA last Thursday. They had lingering questions about the interim traffic control standard updates. We basically answered all those. They gave a verbal approval, so I expect that those new interim TTCs will be coming out soon. That was the last hurdle on that. The tables for clear zone and the barrier taper transition links or whatever will not be on the TTCs. That's something we requested, but it got tabled till the new TTCs come out. So we're going to send those tables out in a construction memo to everybody. So construction personnel will have reference to it, at least easier access than going to the roadside design guide manual, which not everybody has access to. All right, so estimates, Dean particularly commented on estimates and not getting responded to. I was told that we went through the DOTD-40 estimates and checked on the status of any emails that were still in there, and a good bit of them have been solved. There's a couple that have not, and they happen to be Dean's. At least some of them happen to be Dean's, and I guess I'll just reiterate that when there are funding issues on a project, it can be complicated to get to a solution, and there's multiple parties involved. So I'm gonna reiterate to my people to respond to these emails at the group email, which we don't, we still don't get a ton going to that email address, but I'm gonna reiterate, even if we don't have a solution, just respond with the status and what we're doing. So y'all at least have some idea. And I'm as guilty as my people, so I'm gonna do a better job of responding as well. And this call center concept will help keep me straight. So I appreciate that. So we are working, I think Brian talked about, we're working with LeGov, OTS, and a bunch of people to simplify the payment process. If we can get what we're asking for, it should very much help field level people paying estimates. So we've actually made progress on that I'm excited about. It's something that should help the payment process in general and eliminate a lot of the complications that happen during construction. I guess we'll still have at the end of the project, if we have less buffer to handle issues, that could be an issue. But I think we're moving towards something that's going to work a lot better. Audit stuff, we're still looking at ways to simplify the audit process. This is something that we said before. Headlight should help that a lot. So I guess that's the three subjects I kind of want to talk about. Railroad is not a whole lot of changes. So I'll wrap it up on that. Wait for comments.
Thank you, Dallas. So just to reiterate, the issue that we've been working on with everyone in the background, where we don't have to split these funding categories and control section, we haven't. It's not guaranteed at this point, but it's very positive and looks like that we may be able to do that on the back end of the project. And it won't be, that responsibility won't fall on the project engineer and the inspector. And I know that's going to make a huge impact on how we pay jobs, and then in turn how estimates get paid, and funding would not be an issue like it is in most cases as a result of those having to go in and manually manipulate things, delete parts of the estimate out so estimates can be paid. So this is a big step forward, and it's something that Mike Vosberg has been working in the background on, and it's a huge step for us. So I really want to give kudos to Mike on that. It's a big deal. So I really think that's going to be a big help. So while we were talking, we had a question come in on my email, and it was about the district reorg under the new structure. Will the district construction engineer have an assistant? Will the district maintenance engineer have an assistant? ADA of operations still exists, supervised traffic, bridges. Those are all good questions that we don't fully have the answers to at this point. What we've been committed to is that the district staff, the project engineering staff, is going to report up to what we would call a district construction engineer. And that person, which we're thinking will be a new position, will then in turn report through the org chart up to headquarters construction and then the chief engineer. All of those details we're working out and working on right now, and more to come. Again, the chief engineer, Chad Winchester, is going to be calling a meeting with the DAs and the district staff the first of the year in January, and kind of talk to everyone about this whole situation. While we're currently working on SF3s and we're working on the org charts to have a two-step process, a transition solution, and then a final solution. So we have the existing condition that we're going to have to unfreeze, transition, set up, and then refreeze, and then implement this new structure. And it's a big change management protocol, and it's a lot of moving parts. And as the information comes, we're going to share it. So that's the only answer I have to that at this point. So anyone else, headquarters, construction, have anything else to add before I turn it over? All right, hearing none, we're going to open up the floor. Les, that's going to come through the chat, or we're going to raise hands. How are we going to do that? Turn it over to you.
I would say either one. So to raise hands, we'll call on you if you have questions to voice, or, we do have a few things popping up in the chat, which we're kind of handling those. District 3 sent over something that's a great idea of putting a master list together of all of the group emails that we use. And so we will work on getting that together. Patrick will get it up on the website, and maybe we'll even send it out in document form just so you can save it somewhere and have it.
Good deal. Any questions? District, contractors, consultants? If you're thinking about it, I guarantee you someone else is thinking about it too.
There's another one here that Patrick already kind of answered, but it's probably worth discussing. And it's District 03 sent it in, the status on contractors or consultants being able to view the reports they needed or attachments on change orders that they kind of both lump together. So I had a call yesterday from a consultant who is still looking to get access to some of the reports. And so Patrick this morning has requested a meeting with OTS. We've not gotten very far on that. So we're setting up another meeting to try to push that forward to get everybody at least have the information you need to be able to get to.
Yeah, that and the Citrix uploader is not working with FileNet for some users, it seems. I've been asking every week and we still haven't gotten responses on that. So I'm going to get it escalated.
All right, looks like we had a few questions in the chat about CPM. Matt answered that one. Providing a master list. Status on contractors being able to view attachments. Patrick answered that. You working with OTS on that issue, Patrick?
Yep. We're going to roll that together with it seems like some Citrix users can see certain icons and access and others can't. So I'm going to get the whole workflow laid out and see if we can get a standardized process for it.
Excellent. A summary of the new spec changes was asked. Do we have a summary? So in our construction roundup webinars and then our in-person meetings, we videoed and taped a lot of that. I know that's probably out there. Is that a section maybe less that we could tag within those and put out as this is a summary of those specifications? Because I know we've talked at length about them. If not, we can, if that's something that everybody would like to have, we can put out a summary of all the changes first of the year. So if that's something that everyone wants, please let us know.
Are you talking about where we discussed those on the previous webinars? Yeah, so on the YouTube page, which I linked the last webinar we did, but they're also, the construction roundup webinars are listed under their own section. So you can filter to just construction roundup webinars and go back to some of those discussions. And then I generally kind of chapter those out so you don't have to watch the whole video. And so there should be a section in there on spec changes. So if not, then I can go back in and relabel it and make sure everybody has easy access to that.
Yeah.
All right.
The last webinar that we did, I think I had a summary of spec changes. I try to list out all the ones that are pertinent to us, minus the non-standards and technical specs that are done for projects. But I don't think there's a whole lot of change. I think maybe next time I can provide a summary list of for the next meeting. I can provide a summary list with effective dates of upcoming specs or specs that have gone into effect.
Let's do that. Let's send out an email to everyone with that summary, Sarah, as well as less as we would like. I'd like to add a link to that construction roundup or webinar where we talked about it, and put the link in the email and send it out to everybody. And that way, that'll give them the resources. And if there's additional questions or if we need more information on it, look, you guys let us know, make the request to me, and we'll get that done first of the year. Let's see. So like what Sarah, what you were talking about is a summary of when they were active, when they're going into projects, and kind of a timeline, correct?
Yeah, I like to see what major changes, major specs that are going to be pertinent. Usually they're just the general rewrites to the book, and then I put those together and give a status on them, whether it's almost done, it's at FHWA, or if it's gone effective, what dates it'll be effective, if it's been approved, just to kind of give a heads up to people looking at their new proposals, new projects, making sure that they know, hey, this is something new that's going to be coming. Please check your contracts, make sure you know what's going on.
All right. All right. Any more questions?
So a new one just popped up about e-ticketing, and it's asking when will the new special provision for e-ticketing start showing up in the bid proposals? I believe that's January, right?
No, it's February. I looked it up. It was February 12th. It'll be effective on the proposals going out on that date. So any projects after that should have the new spec and any associated specs that were changed with that.
Thanks for that clarification, Sarah.
Yeah, and anyone that has the new CPM spec, if you're a project engineer and you have that spec in your project, reach out to us, and we'll try to go through and see who has it and reach out to you as well. But we would like to set up a pre-construction meeting with the project staff and the contractor about that and just discuss it before we kick it off.
Also, in regards to the e-ticketing, it will be on the February lettings and everyone thereafter. But if your suppliers are worried about it, or if there are suppliers on here, there is, plenty of time to get signed up. Even if it's February, usually it takes till March to get a contract signed, another 30 days or so for notice to proceed, and then at least 30 days for an assembly period. So there's time to get signed on for that. Of course, we want to go ahead and get started with that process sooner rather than later. So make sure you're letting your suppliers know, contractors, to go ahead and get signed up for that, because it is coming.
I just want to add to that, Hall Hub is very responsive. So when somebody requests that they get their plant connected, they are very responsive and on the ball.
They've already responded to this morning. So.
Excellent. So Matt, on the RFCO process, I know I've seen a couple of them via email. I've seen some that had text written in a PDF. Some were handwritten in the PDF and responded. We kind of want to move towards, doing it the same way every time. And we had talked about putting out a DocuSign template. In the meantime, just get them written up, get them to us via email, call us. We'll hand walk them through the process so we're not delaying these. It's our intention to get these things proved within 1 to 2 days, especially for the easy things that don't require, that they don't come with 300 pages of backup. So just get them to us as quickly as you can. And as we refine that process and make sure that we're using, standardized, I lost it. What's it called? Signatures. Just get them to us and get on the phone, and we'll walk them through. It is definitely not our intent that this would hold things up or take longer than it has in the past. The whole point of it, like we talked about with you guys before, is to get out in front of the change order, to get all of the stakeholders involved, get everybody on the same page. So whenever the work gets here, the work gets done, and you get paid immediately. There were some questions also that came up at our recent AGC meeting about prompt payments. temporary or partial payments on change orders. So I think that the proper response to that would be that if it's a very large change order that requires a lot of tracking and it's over a long period of time, instead of trying to process partial parts of a change order or make partial payments, I think the most appropriate path forward is to use our force account method. And then we could transition, as we track it via force account, transition that pricing scheme to a forward pricing change order that gets processed, and then we could pay those monthly estimates on that force account backup. So again, any questions on that, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll walk you through that as well. But the whole intent is to get contractors paid on time and to get quick responses and get these things resolved in a timely manner. So we thank we thank y'all for working through this, something that was just sprung on you, and we're all working through it. So, will e-ticketing be mandatory? Yes. Any concerns about that or any questions about it being mandatory? From a vendor perspective or a contractor using that vendor? Patrick, you just want to give a little quick blurb on how they can get set up and that it's paid for? There's no out-of-pocket cost?
So Hall Hub does all the setup at no cost. It's all covered under the DOTD agreement. Most of you plants are already using some form of a batching software, Command Alcon. What's the asphalt one? I can't think of it. I don't remember.
Fleet Watcher.
Fleet Watcher, is it? So a lot of these they already have integration services with. It's just a matter of turning on the switch and getting the plant to basically map. This is what we call the project in our batching system. This is what it's called in the Hall Hub. And once that mapping's set up, tickets flow. From a lot of the industry plants that have already been using this, as well as DOT inspectors have been using this, I've heard just positive feedback because it gets rid of having to handle that manual paper ticket. So it's a change for the better, it seems. We've just heard positive. Every now and then we have a hiccup where a plant doesn't get something set up immediately. But once they get it set up, all those back tickets flow right in, and everything's flowing smooth, flowing as it needs to. So if there's any issues with it, feel free to reach out to me. It's something we can address. And any plants just need to get in touch with the e-construction section. And we'll get them set up with the Hall Hub, or they can reach right out to Hall Hub themselves if they have contacts.
All right. Any more questions? Can contractors request to switch to e-ticketing? Absolutely. And then Vicky is it a category 1 change order? Is that a question?
I think we sent out a construction memo that if anybody wanted to implement it, that it did not require the category 1 to pull in that spec.
Correct. So follow-up items. A summary of our existing spec changes this year. Sarah's going to be sending out a timeline, an implementation, and we're going to attach our video link to that as well, where we talked about them. And then if we have further questions or you need further clarifications, reach out to me, and we'll work with you.
So Hunter Boudreaux had a follow-up to the interest payments on estimates. Do you have when do you expect to have this information?
So I know that has been talked about with our legal section, and I do not have an answer on that right now.
I wouldn't anticipate anything until after the first of the year, based on the fact that it's the 18th, and there's a few people in legal, and so I don't know what their workload is, but right here before Christmas and New Year's, I just don't know that we'll get a response back prior to that.
But we are aware of it, and it's been discussed, and we should have a response out shortly. Well, guys, we've had a busy year, had a lot going on. We appreciate all of the participation and everybody getting on this call. We're showing still 99 participants, which including the rooms full of people, it's even more. And we're 46 minutes into this thing. So we, really appreciate that. That shows a commitment to you guys working with us and working through these issues. And I hope that you see that, our commitment to you and working through these problems and, finding solutions that work for everybody, and making sure that we have consistent outcomes across the state of Louisiana. So anything you need, anything you don't know, reach out to us, reach out to my team. If you don't get a response, reach out to me. I'll make sure you do. And we wish you the best. Happy New Year's, Merry Christmas, and we're going to kick this thing off in January and hit the ground running with headlights. So I look forward to a busy and exhausting new year in 2025, and we'll be right in the mix with all of you. So be safe and have a good holiday and great time with your family, and we appreciate your participation.
Thanks, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Happy
Yep.
New Year.